August 25th, 2024, London, England, Wembley Stadium, AEW All In. A wonderful wrestling show to watch that was headlined by perhaps what I now consider to be one of my favorite matches in AEW history. Welcome back to the channel. This is a strange case of Sean here with a reaction/discussion video about the AEW World Heavyweight Championship match from All In this past Sunday between defending champion Swerve Strickland and Bryan Danielson, who not only challenged for the championship, but also to keep his career intact. Recency bias aside, I believe this match was very important, not just for AEW, but for professional wrestling as a whole. And I want to discuss my reasons in this video. So please join me for this analysis and let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear them. Please note that this was recorded before the post pay-per-view episode of Dynamite. And now, let's get started. I first want to talk about tribalism in wrestling. It's one of my biggest pet peeves. It's just awful. For me, it truly takes the enjoyment out of professional wrestling, especially considering its entertainment. Both WWE and AEW have their good periods and their bad periods, and that's okay. Collectively, fans of wrestling should appreciate both for what they bring to the table, but there are others who hope, pray, and tweet that the other company fails. It's okay to enjoy one company more than the other, but tribalism in wrestling really relates to when one fan tries to hype up or build their company up and bringing the opposite one down. Imagine arguing with people who enjoy the same form of entertainment, but arguing about the stories and styles respectively. It's similar to fans who enjoy reading or watching fantasy series, but arguing what's better, Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings. They both have their own elements, characters, and stories to be told in their own ways. The same is said for professional wrestling, and that doesn't mean just WWE or AEW. It could be TNA, MLW, GCW, indie promotions, or other ones. Having options to choose from is great. Liking one more than another is great as well. But it's subjective to the individual fan. If they like one more than the other, great. If they like multiple companies, also great. Holding your opinion about one wrestling company being better, higher than others, just isn't cool. Picture you're out with your friend at a pizza restaurant and you order a slice of pepperoni and they start bashing your selection. Then they order a slice with pineapple. It's just a different style of pizza. Arguing about preference is a waste of time when there can be good in both. Yeah, I said it. Pineapple can be good on pizza. It also reminds me of passionate or egocentric sports fans with their teams depending on which word you prefer. By the way, I don't have any affiliation or team or whatever.
Go team! Go sports!
I do believe that this match really should put the tribalism in professional wrestling to an end. I believe this match between Strickland and Danielson was truly the best of both worlds. Let's dive into the wrestlers who fought in this high-stakes match. Swerve Strickland. The defending champion has become a solidified name in AEW. He's made history by becoming the first African-American AEW World Heavyweight Champion. The commentary team also mentioned that Swerve made history as he is the first African-American wrestler to main event in Wembley Stadium. Swerve's done some remarkable things and he's only just getting started. His goal at All In was to not only retain his championship, but bring an end to the career of the legendary Bryan Danielson. Swerve has defeated many notable names in his AEW tenure and was ready to add Bryan to this list. Also, he let Bryan know that after he retired him, and if Bryan ever decided to do another match anywhere, that he'd be there to beat him down. He was determined to send the American Dragon off into the sunset. Bryan Danielson. The challenger has a career in wrestling that deserves its own retrospect video, series, or could maybe even have a whole YouTube channel dedicated to it. Bryan is a decorated and respected talent in this business. He has nothing to prove to the fans. His matches and accomplishments speak for themselves. I'm unsure of any wrestler or person for the matter who loves wrestling more than Bryan. He is a first ballot Hall of Famer for any Wrestling Hall of Fame. Danielson won the 2024 Men's Owen Hart Cup, which also rewarded him with an AEW World Championship match. He announced that 2024 would be his last year as a full-time wrestler. He vowed to go out on top, and he decided to do this by adding a retirement stipulation to his championship match against Swerve. Both men were determined to be victorious in this monumental main event. These wrestlers together were sure to make a classic match. However, I just didn't realize how much of a classic they were actually going to put on. Back to the tribalism in wrestling for a moment. AEW was created as an alternative to WWE. As I mentioned, both companies have their pros and cons. WWE is more well known for their stories, while AEW is more known for their matches. At least this is in my opinion. I'm not saying WWE doesn't care about match quality, and I'm not saying AEW doesn't care about their stories. A match can have a good story, but be a stinker. See Jey Uso versus Jimmy Uso at WrestleMania 40. A match can also have no story, but be amazing. See Kenny Omega versus El Hijo del Vikingo on Dynamite 2023. It's exciting to see how stories will evolve, what twists and turns they may take, and ultimately, how the story will conclude or transform into another. See the Bloodline. For me, I'm able to be more interested in a match when I'm intrigued by the story. This, however, can set me up for disappointment if the match isn't all that great. I also have a hard time getting invested in a match when I don't fully understand why they are wrestling each other. Is it for a championship? Is it betrayal? Relationship problems? A bracelet? I bring this up because I believe this is the match. The match that both WWE and AEW fans can agree upon being amazing. I say this as I primarily watch WWE more than AEW. I do like both and follow both products, however. I actually wasn't sure I was going to watch All In. Timeless Tony versus Mariah May arguably had the greatest storyline going into the show. I knew we were going to get a rematch between Ospreay and MJF, and that had a cool story too. But the AEW World Championship match is what sold me to watch this show. AEW did a tremendous job in their setup for the title versus career match between the two. This match had everything. There was a clear heel and clear face. You wanted to boo Swerve for his desire of retiring Bryan, and you wanted to see Bryan continue on with his career and enter a new part of it as world champion. It had moments of great drama. Early on, the referee was taken out, which led Swerve to deliver a Death Valley driver-like move, not only on the hardest part of the ring, but the ring bell, put there by Prince Nana. From there, it was for sure going to be an uphill battle for Bryan, but this didn't put him away. This also busts Bryan open. Mind you, this adds to the celebratory picture Bryan has with his family and the BCC at the end. It was awesome. Sorry those who get squeamish by blood. Swerve even taunts Bryan's family in the front row, causing his daughter to cry. How could you not be angry with Swerve? But this just sets up Bryan's comeback and the fans' desire to see him overcome such a challenge. Now, usually I am not fond of the overuse of the fighting spirit. I feel when I watch AEW, I see a lot of it, and to me, it blurs matches together, as well as devalues moves that are devastating and typically win matches. I like seeing the fighting spirit, but done in the right way. Swerve and Danielson nailed this. There weren't pins after every big move, and it sold the fighting spirit in a different manner than just kickouts. I feel like the fighting spirit is the ultimate enemy of selling, but when done right, they can actually work hand in hand. Take Bryan for example. At a point in the match, Bryan gets Swerve into the cattle mutilation, and Swerve powers out of this and slams Bryan down very awkwardly. Bryan's selling job is immaculate. You can't tell if he is legitimately hurt or doing an amazing sell job. Then the AEW medical team comes in, and multiple doctors check on Bryan. Knowing his history of injuries, it was hard to think it could just be selling. Then, Swerve chases the medical team away. He said he was out to end the man's career and hits more of his signature moves, but that still doesn't put Bryan away. The fighting spirit is building up, but it didn't devalue the work Swerve did. Now take Swerve. He gets hit with a running knee from Bryan, and he shrugs it off. What? It may be one thing to kick out of it, but to shrug it off? That's insane. One of Bryan's key tools was not very effective. This led to a stunned Bryan getting hit with another house call after receiving multiple already, and then getting hit with the big pressure, but this still doesn't get the job done. Bryan took his shot and it did nothing. It was like he went into a sword duel with a pool noodle. The fighting spirit continues to build, but doubt is definitely creeping in Bryan's head. And for Swerve to shrug it off, that just sent the message to Bryan that he's going to have to do more to take him down. Especially taking a person down who wants nothing than to end his career. Now, of course, the finish of a match can either raise or lower the praise a match gets. But ultimately, ratings are open to opinion, and that means your opinion is just as valid as everyone else, including respected wrestling journalists. The finish began with Hangman Page making his presence known ringside. He has a huge vendetta with Swerve and is foaming at the mouth to destroy him. He is then escorted out by security, but this provides enough distraction for Bryan to hit a running knee. But this doesn't end Swerve's reign as champion. The match continues, and now the fighting spirit has been unleashed in Bryan. He hits multiple running knees and then gets Swerve into the label lock. Bryan notices this isn't working as he had liked, so then he wrenches Swerve's fingers and transitions into what looks like the Regal stretch, a nod to one of his mentors in wrestling and of course legend from England, William Regal. We see Bryan's fighting spirit in full effect now, as well as the pain and despair in Swerve's eyes. He realizes the American Dragon is too much for him and he submits. Swerve has nothing to be ashamed of as he got close to ending the career of a bona fide legend. This also makes Bryan's victory that much sweeter as he realizes how close he was to losing it all again, but this time based on a stipulation he put in place. It was magnificent to see Bryan marvel in his accomplishment and share the moment with his family. I'd even dare say that this celebratory moment rivals his victory at WrestleMania 30. Maybe another video idea? Let me know in the comments. To close, I would say this match should be watched by all wrestling fans. I would even show this match to non-wrestling fans and say to them, see, that's why I love this. It took me on a roller coaster of a ride. It had a fantastic face who we wanted to see succeed and a high quality heel who we wanted to fail. Not necessarily because we wanted him to lose his championship, but we didn't want him to send our dragon away. We saw them battle and take each other to their respective limits. This was a defining performance for both men. For Bryan, as a seasoned vet who is closer to the end of his career, not ready to leave wrestling behind and wanting to be with his family, he looks out to his family who are weary of seeing someone they love so much in so much pain, yet never quitting. And for Swerve, a superstar that can be trusted with the task he needs to complete. That night, he needed to be the most hated man in that building, and what other way to do it than to beat down a man in front of his spouse and his children. I have no doubt Swerve will be champion again and accomplish even more great things. For me, this should be regarded as a pivotal match in the history of AEW. In fact, it should be regarded as a pivotal match in the history of professional wrestling, as it is a match that can be appreciated by both WWE and AEW fan bases. I 100% recommend any wrestling fan to watch this match if you haven't done so already. And that will do it for this match analysis video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and please subscribe. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I appreciate all the support. Stay strange, stay awesome, and I'll see you in the next video.